It is focused on empowering Latinos to create a better community. And you'll hear more about that from Johnny. In his 2 years there so far, he's led a resurgence and transformation of the organization, growing it by over 100% and launching new programs and growing and leading a team of now 6 full-time employees. And so their budget has grown 400%. So it sounds like you're good at fundraising too. So all of this is to help better the community for Latinos in West Michigan. So please welcome Johnny Rodriguez.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you. You know, if you have Latino friends or community, you'll know that we go everywhere with our family. So thank you for letting me bring mine. But no, in all jokes aside, thank you for your continued support. And you know, Ann mentioned that I must be good at fundraising. It's not hard when it's a mission that you believe in. It's not hard when the community understands that it's important that La Hoop's mission is strong for this community. And so it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work for sure. But when you're passionate about it and it's important, it's something we love to do. So just thank you for the introduction. Also, thank you for the continued support in the funds. It's been amazing to see the last 2 and a few months, years, just the support from, you know, other churches, nonprofits, you know, employers, school districts that have come around La Hoop and our team to further support. So we can't do it without that. And so we thank you for your continued support over the past 2 years since I've been leading La Hoop, and your support and willingness to step up where we need it. So thank you. I'm excited to share anytime I get the opportunity to share about, you know, who we are and what we do. And when I first started, it was really everybody was asking us, what does La Hoop do today? We're like, what does La Hoop do now? I know of La Hoop in the history, and so I get to do that today. And I'm excited to share, you know, who we are and what we do. So. If we start with Latin Americans United for Progress, we're going to go through this presentation. You can hit through that. But we'll talk about the mission, vision, and values and who we are, the history of who we serve and where we've been, our services today and programs. Let me get out of some people's way here. And our celebrations, looking ahead, and then open it up for questions and ways that you know, Hope Church can continue to be involved and best ways to serve. Go ahead on to the next slide there. So just learning a little bit more about us. You can go on to the next one. So our mission is to empower Latinos to participate in creating a better community for all through advocacy, celebration, and education. So this is not a new mission. This has been around since 1964, steady, solid mission of why we were created, and since its inception have lived that out. Move on to the next one. So you might have seen our tagline has changed from Learn Today, Lead Tomorrow. When I started, that's what La Hoop's logo had been for the last 10 to 15 years. And we now say La Hoop, aquí estamos, because the Learn Today, Lead Tomorrow is definitely something that pertain to our youth program, which is what we are doing quite consistently. But you know, our community has the tools and assets to lead today. We have to continue to learn, and education is a continued pillar, but we have assets and gifts today. And our youth can lead today, our adults can lead today as well, and we already have been for many years. So some of our history, you've got some old pictures here in 1987 Fiesta, but we actually started in 1964 was the first Fiesta. So actually this is our 60th year, and our 60th year Fiesta this year. So we're super excited about that. Yeah, so it's a big deal. And go ahead and move to the next slide here. But we not only do we focus on the Latino community, our mission is for a better community for all. And so we serve anybody that comes through our doors. We serve and we partner and we collaborate with other organizations and non-Latino serving organizations as well, because we understand that we're all a part of this community, and that's really been part of our mission, so we live that out. This is just a timeline through the decades so that you can see, we've been around for a really long time, and, what we do, just like any organizations that's been around for 60 years, there's ebbs and flows and change in leadership, and when those things happen, it's difficult for an organization. And so La UP's no different. We had to navigate that. And 2021, I started in October, and then we brought on our Director of Workforce Development, Maria Morales, and Julian Lugo, who's been there less than a year now, or a little over a year now, sorry. And so we've really invested in our programs, youth and adult programs, and workforce development programs on top of, kind of what we've been doing. But as early as the 50s and 60s, just grassroots organizations had been meeting at the Civic Center. And so it was Bilingual Bicultural Awareness Committee, the Latin American Society, and La Raza Unida. And so they merged and formed Latin Americans United for Progress. And when I talked to some of the founders are still around. Lupita and Tino Reyes, which you're probably familiar with. If you're not, they were part of the founding group. Alfredo Gonzalez, who was at Hope College for 36 years, he was the actual first board president of La UP. And so when I talked to them about how it came about, there was those three organizations that were meeting. Some of La Raza Unida was very politically focused, and Latin American Society was more celebration focused. And they really didn't want to do much with each other if it didn't have the United for Progress. And so, the political force, the celebration force, they decided to come together, and that's really what created LAU, Latin American United for Progress. And I see my friend Scott Rumsa here from the Community Action House as well. These founding leaders in our community, they led to the improvement in the community and to formations like Community Action House, Trio Upward Bound, Children After School Achievement, which is CASA. So that LAU founders and leadership over the early years really has impacted still today in tremendous organizations like the ones that Scott leads here as well. So, we address discrimination, education, employment, and housing issues way back then. To no surprise, I'm sure you're aware these issues are very much real today. And when I say it's important that our mission is strong and that we're advocating and working in our community, this is why. And so, you might know us from our Fiesta. We do scholarships, youth scholarships at our Fiesta, and then through our youth programs, we work with our youth to secure more scholarships, and I'll touch on that a little bit more. But if you were like me, I grew up here. My family was a migrant working family, and so we settled here in Holland in 1994. And so the 90s saw just some gang activity that was in. I grew up on 14th Street, so all around here and 16th, 18th, 22 near the high school area, and so that was very real. Very real gang activity and issues going on in the Holland community at that time. And so, the La UP's youth focus really started in that time. We needed to provide opportunities and access for our youth to get involved, engaged, and build community, because very similar. I saw it in my own family. My older siblings, they were teenagers when we settled here, and so not having a core foundational friend group and access to opportunities and organizations like a Boys and Girls Club or like a LAU, when they get here, falling in with people that will just accept them and say they love them and they're together with them, and really it's combating that and why La UP started getting into their youth programs. So we had some ESL, been doing ESL over the years as well, and what I always say is we've been upskilling and developing our community for many years with programs in education. We just recently launched into a workforce development program, Educate, Levate. But we've been doing the work for many years, and that's really why we went full force into it. So if you want to, go ahead, you can move on to the next slide here. So who we serve, Ottawa County, and I'll preface this with the census is not really well done in communities of color. It's not really trusted with government data and surveys and those things. So this is the data we have, but here in our county, I would say the Latino community is pushing closer to 13, 14% with those. And if they're undocumented, they're highly unlikely to say, hey, I'm right here. So, but this is our reality and who we are today. So we, making up a good chunk of the community and county. You can move on to the next one here. And, so, talked about the county, and that's about 31,000 people of the Ottawa County makeup that is Latino. Who we serve in Holland, you can see is this, the city of Holland has, the census has it at 24%. As I mentioned, I believe we're closer to 30% of the city. And multiple generations have been here. We've been in the state of Michigan since the late 1800s. The first Michigan State College graduate that was Latino was 1880. And, more presence here in 1912 and 15, but really started to settle in 1940s and 50s with the Bracero programs. That was very much what we're seeing today, where they're bringing up workers, was happening in the 40s and 50s from South Texas and northern Mexico. Now we're seeing them for deeper in Mexico and other Latin American countries that are coming up. So, just something to think about, and always want to make sure, as we talk about adult education, educating the community, these are the demographics, and these are the numbers. But as I mentioned, we don't just strive to serve only Hispanic Latinx communities, but other groups that are here, other communities that are here. And I truly believe because of our size, we can be catalyst for other marginalized communities and partner with them and lead with them. And we believe, cultural sensitive services that incorporate DEI values is very important. And, when you say DEI in Ottawa County, it can be a really hot button, kind of a polarizing thing. Really, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, has always been a business term. And I'll talk a little bit more about why we're doing Educate, Levate workforce development, because of the disparities will kind of blow you away. All right, so you can move on from that. So using social determinants of health, United Way does a community assessment every 3 years here, and so we'll walk through that. But the non-medical factors that influence health outcomes from the World Health Organizations, you can see it there: education, access, quality, healthcare, neighborhood and environment, social community, content, and economic stability. So those are some of the things that we're focused on in our community. You can move on to the next slide. And so these are the 5 things that, overarching needs in our community that we're focused on as an organization to continue not only helping our community survive in these times or just be stable in these times, but actually thrive in these times. So we can go through that. Go ahead, next slide. So in Ottawa County, in 2021, people were surveyed. About 19.6% Ottawa County residents surveyed responded no when they were asked if they needed extra help in meeting their basic needs, would they know where to get extra help? So almost 20% of our county and community wouldn't know where to go if they needed extra help. Only 17% said they turned to a nonprofit organization or human service agencies for help. And so what we do in our office, like resource navigating, is so very important. We provide to our clients that participate in our resource navigation or in our adult program a bridge to that gap of being able to find the resources that they need in our community. If we go to the next slide, it has information on secondary education. 4.8 adults over the age of 25 have gone to high school but did not complete their high school diploma. 2.4 adults over the age, 2.4% of adults over the age of 25 completed an education at the 9th grade level or below. So that means 7.2% of our adults over the age of 25 do not have a high school diploma. So if you go on to the next slide of post-secondary, focusing on higher education, something that stands out for us is 86% of Hispanics do not have a bachelor's degree or higher compared to 23% of Ottawa County residents who do have a bachelor's degree, and another 11.7 who have a graduate degree. So if you go to the next slide, why does that matter? I mentioned in our mission, our pillar, one of our pillars is education. Education being one of our pillars, we focus on youth and adult education. We understand that education is a crucial component to life outcomes. Levels of education heavily impact salary and wages, and in terms of social determinants of health, economic stability, affects people's ability to afford healthy food, health care, housing. So the lower the education level, the less economic stability. So without economic stability, people can't meet their basic needs. So you can see it's important that we get, when I was going through school and in the 80s and 90s, across the country was Latinos aren't graduating high school. So now we're graduating high school, we're getting to college, and the statistics right now in the state of Michigan is 60% of Latino college students are leaving after going to college for a year or two. Now, the problem is they leave with a burden of debt and no degree. And so we're getting them there. They need more support. They need more stability, resources to continue on that journey so they attain their bachelor's degree. That's so important, and it's why our youth program focuses on that. Go ahead to the next slide here. And we look at health. Overall, Ottawa County adults report very good. It's an excellent health, right, county, right. So 13% report fair or poor health. The proportion of adults who perceive their health as fair or poor is inversely related to the level of education and household income. So people living below the poverty line are more likely to report fair or poor health than those above the poverty line. So we seek to meet the health needs through our resource navigation to get the resources that they need, but also sharing health-oriented information. So we'll have workshops, we'll have community meetings at our offices to share about health. And our community suffers at a higher percentage than others with diabetes and Alzheimer's. And one of the issues, talking with Dr. Irving Vega from Michigan State, is one of the issues with research is there's not many Latinos participating in that neurological research of Alzheimer's on why it's affecting our communities. And so these are information that people, Latinos in our community, come to LAUP and they feel safe, there's a safe place, and they're spoken with and to from people that look like them, that speak their language, and so we get them that information. But we also do, if you haven't heard of our Salserines, we do health through salsa. So we started that shortly after I started because the isolation is an issue across communities for adults. But in the Latino community, oftentimes as they get older, they just stay home or they're put in a home, but that they don't have those friend groups that many of us, if we have grown up somewhere, they have those friend groups and emotional, social connections. Immigrants are not coming with that. And so we started that. There's about 50 people in the program right now. But these are the type of things that we're doing to combat some of the negative diseases that are impacting our community. You can move on to the next one. And then work. So being in human resources and talent acquisition leadership, I've got to see the landscape firsthand. And so it's important that not only our local employers are supported, but communities don't get left behind, because for every 10 jobs, there's 6 people. So there's not enough people for the jobs that are available. And what employers will do is they're going to automate as much as they can. And so what happens in communities of color is sometimes they get left behind of that technology and education and access to that technology, because that automation is going to need technicians, programmers, and that type of work. And so what we want to do is, how do we upskill and develop our workforce now, but our youth, get them exposed to what those careers could be as well. So just some more data. Ottawa County, they said 65% said a better job meant more pay. And then of those who are working and satisfied with their job, 51% stated their job required credentials, certification, and license. So reinforcing the fact that education plays an important role and more pay. But that also means that 49% of those that responded are dissatisfied with their work. Right, so how do we get them doing something that's more passionate in their passion? You can go to the next slide. And then this is something that I always love to share. United Way. I don't know if you're familiar with the ALICE report. So it's asset limited, income constrained, and employed. A simple way to remember the ALICE range or ALICE people is the working poor. They work, some of them have 2-3 jobs, make too much where they're not on any type of assistance, but they're not making enough to really thrive. And when you look at what it takes for 2 adults and 2 children just to survive, is $56,000. But then, this is more updated than what I have. So this is this year's numbers. So $54,540. But then the stability budget for 2 adults, 2 children is $94,320 in Ottawa County. So you think about, everything that goes on with having kids and daycare and costs and those things. But if you're making anywhere between minimum wage and $18 an hour, it's hard to survive here. It's hard and stable. Stable just means like you're okay, you can get your basic needs met and maybe go on a vacation. But you're not thriving. And so just thinking about $100,000, you pretty much need to make $100,000 as a family in your household per year to really be feeling like you're getting some traction, right? And so think about who that is in our community and those people in that range and how difficult it is for them. So our workforce development program, Educate Levate, seeks to build the skills of our community to expand people's job opportunities, to be able to start earning more and participate truly in that American dream. You can move on to the next one. So last piece of this is our community. So LAUP was at the Midtown Center for about 9 years, and 10 years before that, that was the first time they had their first office. And so we knew when I started, we were in the back room of, it's Boulevard Church now. I think it was like Fourth Reformed or something like that way back in the day. We were in the back room of that, and it was something that strategically we knew that our community needs a space. There is no space. There's not one space that is specifically for the Latino community to be themselves, to be welcomed. And so we knew we needed to have our own space. We needed to be visible so the community knew where they could go to receive these resources and programs and services. And so in August of 2022, we moved into a space on 17th Street in Ottawa, right next to Tulip City Brewstillery, across the street from Repco Light. And I think Dance United is on that corner of Kings Cove. So we wanted to stay in the 16th, 15th Street area, and we're really in a great spot. But you see in these pictures, just the community comes out, they feel welcome, they feel like a safe space, and we're doing all our programming a lot of our programming out of that location. But it's meant to be a community space where people can come together, learn, celebrate, feel at home, and it ties into those social determinants of health that we're working with and against, and then people's relationships, interaction with family, friends, coworkers, and community members can have a major impact on their health and well-being. So out of these offices, you can go on to the next slide there, our bilingual staff will help break down language barriers through translations, interpretations, form assistance. 2 weeks after I started, I had a gentleman come in here and into where we were, and he had a big packet, and he was like, I can't read this. I don't know what this says. And it was a divorce packet. And it's like, I'm like, it's stating what your wife wants, and these, so like very heavy real life things that they can't even read, right? So imagine you know, those type of situations if you had to experience that, and what a gift to have an organization like LAUP where they can go and say, these people will help me read this or get me what I need. And so those are the type of things we work with. Translation language services is one of the biggest needs in our community. Most places across industry just doesn't have enough information in Spanish, whether it be training modules, you know, even just information packets, signage, you know, very foundational in the sense of the needs in our community, but also to belonging. So those are the things that we're helping, job applications, you know, anything that they really need help with, we try to do the best that we can with what we have. So you can move on to the next one. Some state and community resources. We have a partnership with Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So we have a navigator there on every Tuesday from 1 to 4 to assist with any supports and assistance that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services can. And they don't have to go into that Ottawa County building or the state building right off of James there. They can come over to LAUP and meet with them. And then we have the Ottawa County kiosk, which is the court kiosk. So it's at the LAUP office, and people can set legal appointments, help through Zoom, get legal help, source information. They can also scan and pay any fines that they have, and communicate with their lawyers as well. So that's another way of removing that barrier, coming to a safe place, and then we can help them through that. And then, yeah, those are the two that were there. And then next slide is our counseling. So we have a partnership with Bethany Christian Services. We provide this space. It's actually done right out of my office, individual and family counseling. And it's provided by a bilingual, bicultural clinician that was part of our partnership. And Lily Navarro started on Thursdays and quickly was filled up, overwhelmed, and now we have Raquel Santos, who is doing Mondays. So we do Mondays and Thursdays, individual and family counseling for any Hispanic Latino residing in Ottawa County. No ID is required, and this, as I mentioned, is individual and family sessions. And then our next one is some financial empowerment programming. We have a partnership with Huntington Bank. So every month we host financial literacy workshops, and they can range from, you know, credit, entrepreneurship, how to get capital, you know, banking, bank accounts, accounting. So really, I think our most attended was the first-time home ownership. Was something that we had a great turnout. So it's interesting just to see what people come out for and what their needs are when it comes to credit, banking, you know, and how to go about, you know, home ownership. And then our programs. So we have a youth program, and you might have heard of it. It's called Adelante and Más Adelante. So our Adelante group, which means forward, is 8th through 11th grade. So when I started, we expanded to 8th grade in Ottawa County. And the program aims to improve college and career readiness, both in Adelante and Más Adelante, but it's important that we get younger to expose our youth younger and younger to what careers are out there, and colleges are out there, trades. Really, when I was going through school, there wasn't a program like that, and I ended up getting a teaching certificate. I didn't want to be a teacher. I did my student teaching. I taught at alternative high school for my first year because I graduated in 2009, so there wasn't really many jobs out there in 2009. But the way God works, and I was blessed to get into human resources and talent acquisition, but it's really about relationships. But if I had known what else is out there. And so that's why I'm very passionate about working with the youth, but also, wouldn't change anything. But it just bringing that awareness. There's so many things out there and that you could do, even from a entrepreneurship side of things. And then, we're holistically trying to serve them better. And, we walk alongside their families and their parents. This is something that schools just don't have the capacity to do, especially if they speak Spanish. The counselors are overwhelmed, teachers are overwhelmed. So we've become a really great resource for our community. So the Más Adelante program, you can move on. Yep. So that's our 12th graders. So as we start in 8th grade, they're getting exposed to different careers. We're taking career visits, worksite visits, work-based learning, and then we're also going to about 7 college visits throughout the years. We are, as I mentioned, not only the oldest Latino organization in the state of Michigan, but the only Latino organization that has a documented youth curriculum that follows the school year. So we start in September and we wrap up in April, first week of May. So as they become 12 graders, at that point we're like, what's your track? And now that we have workforce development, not only are we walking alongside them to fill out college applications, but we're also walking alongside them to pipeline them into the workforce development program. Educate Elevate, for those students that are saying college isn't for me or that's not the path I want to go. But I mentioned FAFSA. If you've ever heard of FAFSA or worked with FAFSA, it's hard in English. And if you don't know the language, you need some support there. And it really great, Julian, we've invested in Julian, our youth director and advancement. He is a certified FAFSA, certified programmer, I guess is what it's called. But so he is trained on working with FAFSA and with parents. And so, as I mentioned, they're exploring careers, listening to guest speakers. We're working with them on, how do you prepare for what you want and walking with them. Adult programming. Move on. So, Educate Elevate is our workforce development program. So immediately as I started, I kept getting phone calls. Hey, we want Latino talent. We know they want to work. We want them here. And I was like, awesome, I'll just pick up the Latino phone line and call them all. And it's not how it works. And what we've said to our employers is we need investment and partnership to really engage our community the ways that you need to provide access to opportunity, and not just, hey, we need people. And so we've had some great employers step up. And what we've done with Maria Morales leads our workforce development, and so she does a business analysis with a workforce development analysis with these employers to look for the gaps and opportunities, not only for today but the future, and work alongside them. We have partnerships with community-based organizations. Community Action House is one of them, Lighthouse Immigrant Advocates, Zealand Adult Ed, and so through our funding we're able to support them working with us. And then we have partnerships with Thompson MTech, Michigan Works, GRCC, GVSU, and Hope College to upskill and develop. So any training or courses that our community wants to get into, there's a whole collaborative partnership, community partnership working on this to upskill and develop the community. And then our last line there is, I mentioned the disparities that maybe you're not aware of, but in Ottawa County, in manufacturing, which is our largest collaborative, we're in Holland, we're in Ottawa County, West Michigan. Manufacturing is one of the largest things that goes on here, if not the largest. At an entry level manufacturing, for every 5 non-Latino, there's 1 Latino, right? So 5 to 1. The next level up is management, and that's 17 non-Latinos to 1 Latino. That's a huge disparity. They don't track, we got these numbers from Lakeshore Advantage, they don't track the directors and executives and CEO levels. But you can imagine if management is 17 to 1, what those disparities are. And we've been here since the late 1800s. We've been in this community since the 40s and 50s, and we have multiple generations here. But we're not getting access to those opportunities, and you have to ask yourself, why? And is there something wrong with our community? Is there something wrong with the people, the humans that are brown in our community, that we can't do those roles? Or is it the social constructs in those things that are built up, right? And that are built in those, whether across industry, it doesn't matter. In manufacturing, that's the data, but in my experience, it's across industry. You look at school districts, you look at administrations, you look at every industry, every sector. There's a disparity of us being represented, not even at the highest levels of organizations, even just the middle management, supervisor levels. And so, we're not just here to bring awareness to that. We're working actively to change that. And so that's that last pillar of Educate, Elevate. You can move on to that. I know we're cutting it close here, so yeah, go ahead and keep on moving there. There's some more facts. And if anybody would like this slide deck, you can leave it there. I can send it out to you. Ann has it. But resource navigation services, access to community resources, resume creation, editing, skills training, career coaching, general career guidance. If somebody in our community, which just like every other program that we have, you do not need to be Latino. We serve non-Latinos in like our citizenship class, and we actually started teaching Spanish. So we serve quite a bit of non-Latinos in our Spanish classes. So you do not need to be Latino. You just need to be 18 and live in Ottawa County. We got our workforce development grant through the ARPA funding that came from the federal, and it was accepted at the Ottawa County level. And so one of the stipulations is it has to be Ottawa County. Okay, so our goal is after the 3-year grant is done, we have enough support that we can continue this workforce development and expand it wherever we need to. So you can keep moving there. Yep, so in-house we do ESL and digital literacy. We do a citizenship course twice a year, and then we do Spanish classes 3 times a year. And then we partner with Zealand All Ed on ESL, GED, and MTech trade courses. And this isn't a new model. This is a national model. It's been done in healthcare. It's outside in, inside up. So upskilling the community of those outside of the workforce, and then those that are in the workforce with our employer partners. And then, as I mentioned, the Salserines. So we have about 50 people. Anyone in this room is welcome to come on Thursday nights. Start at 7 p.m. It's beginning courses. And what's great about the Salserines class, and it started with Miguel Munoz leads it. Julie and Juan Mascorro support him. But Miguel, they just wanted to get people dancing. And which was great because our adults in our community, isolation is an issue, and loneliness is on the rise, and it's a killer. And so we need to get people engaged, and this is a fun way to do it. It's salsa rueda, so you're dancing in a circle. You don't need a partner. And they'll teach you and train you how to move and how to dance. And when they call out a move, that's what everybody's doing. So it is a lot of fun. I oftentimes come in the morning the next day and see like birthday cake everywhere. And so they're celebrating with each other, right? They're building community. And they formed a dance group called Salserines. And now you see them out at other festivals. They dance at the La Fiesta, but they did the International Festival. So they have like a performing group. And they're so passionate about it, and they're building community and those emotional, social connections that are so important. So really, that's one of our favorite projects and programs. And then I'll move through these. Go ahead. So we have, these are key celebrations throughout the year, but our youth conference is coming up February 6th at Hope College. Then we'll have Tulip Time partnership with La UP, the fireworks. We do all the entertainment and all the food trucks. And then we have the fiesta. I mentioned 60th year fiesta this week. Last year was the first time it was a week. We started in Wednesday, so it was like a half a week. This year will be a full week starting on Monday, July 15th with a documentary called First Voice Generation, which is following 3 Latino students from Holland, West Ottawa, that have gone through the college process. It was a really great documentary done by Cynthia Martinez, and so she's going to kick off our Monday, July 15th. And then we'll have events throughout that whole week, ending with July 20th is our 60th Fiesta at the Holland Civic Center. And then the 21st, we're moving our car show from the Saturday to the Sunday to have outside entertainment and the food there. So that'll be a whole week. And really, it was a vision of ours that was like, man, we've been here so long, our 60th Fiesta, and you're telling me we're still only celebrating one day? That's not how we celebrate. So we got a golf outing, and then our La UP Gala is our fundraiser. So looking towards the future, it's really, in the last 2 years, we were getting calls from employers. We were getting calls for Spanish classes. So it's really, the community, transportation, one of the biggest needs. Language service, I mentioned. We know housing is a big need for everyone. These are things that we're trying to continue to evolve and grow, and that really directs kind of where we go in terms of servicing the community and the way that it needs to be served. And I'll tell you, when I first started, there was people saying, hey, what do you guys do? What are you guys even doing? And what I tell people now is it's really hard to serve the Latino community being Latino, because they will come right up and tell you that you're not doing enough. Right, you got to do more. You got to work harder. You got to do these things, and so it's awesome. But we just need to grow, evolve, continue to serve the community the way it wants to be served and it needs to be served. And so that's it. I think you can do one more, and you'll get to see some of our full-time team. So Maria Morales, Director of Workforce Development, Strategic Impact. Julian Lugo, Director of Youth Programs and Advancement. Letsy's our Executive Office Coordinator. And then Alejandra is our Career Development Specialist that works with Maria. This is just our full-time staff. We have, I was just doing our insurance audit, so I think we had like 15 contractors this year, so it's great. Something that we don't talk too much about, but we have a Promotores de la Democracia, which is Promoters of Democracy group, led by Blanca Astua. And so this is basically get out the vote. And it's led by La UP, it's led by Latinos, and so they go out to the doors and start knocking and say, hey, have you registered? Do you know how? What do you need support in? So it's really, as a 501c3, we're not leaning one way or another, telling you what to do, but you need to use your voice in our community. And so we started that in 2022. We had about 5 promotores, and now we have 8 promotores, and they all do get paid to do their work. And so it's something that we kind of just keep below the radar, just keep doing it. It's important, but just want to make you guys aware of, we have a team that goes out and does that, along with kind of health initiatives with it. So, what questions?
Okay, please be aware that we are being recorded, and as I come to you with a mic, state your name and your question or your comment.
You're on.
Okay.
Can you hear me? As an aside, before I ask my question, I just want to encourage you to market the salsa dancing to our churches, because Dutch people don't dance.
That's not true. I see you guys on the Tulip Time street there.
Let's party. Way back to your slide about secondary education, college graduation, and so on.
Yeah.
Can you put that in perspective? You gave us some stats there. How does that compare to the population in general? We all know that there aren't enough kids that get through high school and enter into college that choose to, but how does that stack up against the general population, so we can get a perspective on that? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I think one of the stats on there was 86% of the students are or 86% of Hispanics in Ottawa County do not have a bachelor's degree. And I think the rest, I can't remember what it was on there. Can you go back to that slide? That might be on there. The stats for the students, I'll have to get you that. I can get back to Ann on that. I don't have the general population in terms of the students in the state of Michigan, but I do have the Latino stats.
You don't have to be specific. I'm just wondering, is it a market difference, or is that a general trend that we're now graduating fewer college students? In other words, in the general population,
Yeah.
are general students dropping out also before they complete? And same way with high school. I know I used to teach at Muskegon High School. We always had an issue with students that just didn't graduate.
Get to the high school level. Yeah, I know there's a stark difference between the Latino community and other communities.
Sir, are we ready? Okay, I'm Judy Vanderwilt over here.
Okay.
I wanted to commend you for the marvelous work that LAUP is doing, and I thank you very much.
Praise God.
My daughter works in immigration studies, and she has a book coming out soon in which she looks at what industry did for immigrants in the 1930s. And it was interesting. She noted that companies would offer ESL classes. They provided help for down payments for housing, and they recognized all kinds of special events in people's lives. And if we think there were not the need for these services for other immigrant groups, we're mistaken. And I think all the more reason for you to continue to do the good work you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I'm Dave Myers. I want to echo what Judy said. Thank you for what you're doing, for a great presentation. A number of years back, I was on the board of a local company, a manufacturing company, which employed a number of undocumented immigrants. And when there was a federal crackdown on the employment of those, had to, in a mass layoff, let those people go. And it was a terrible thing for the company. It was a terrible thing for the people that were let go. And that leads me to wonder, what proportion of your clientele are undocumented immigrants? Is that number increasing? And are you facing challenges because they're undocumented in supporting them? So you don't want to speak to that?
Yeah, yes, the second question is, yes, there are challenges, and we are facing, especially with our workforce development program, because they need to be 18 and are Ottawa County resident. They don't have to be documented, because we do have a program that can help them become documented or get permission to work. But there are those barriers, because some of them have no chance of ever getting permission. And so that's the reality. And so that is a barrier. I would say there's about 2,500 undocumented people in Ottawa County that the data we've been able to secure. And so I see some of that rising in what we see in our numbers, but probably less than 20% of who we serve right now. Thank you.
Right here. I have two questions. One for clarification. The 86% of Hispanics who do not have a bachelor's degree or higher. Does that refer to the adult population?
Adult population,
Okay.
yes, in Ottawa County.
All right. I can well imagine how you feel about the Ottawa impact to abolishing the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I have those in the right order.
Yep.
Has LAUP done anything to try to get the office reinstated? Is there something we can do to help?
Yeah, I think, some of it is we're in Ottawa County, and we're in a Republican, majority for the most part. And when we're advocating at a state level. I think we advocate at a county level and city level in different ways. But we have to, you know, I like to say one of my favorite philosophers, who's a rapper, Lil Wayne, he would say, "I move like lasagna," and so I feel like sometimes we have to move that way. And so, in a way, there's ways that we're advocating, you know, and speaking out. But you know, biggest thing is the employers were really drivers of that DEI department of the county level, and so we need to continue to work with them to continue to drive that and get back to that. But as long as the majority is the majority on that county level, I don't see that coming back at the county level unless that commission changes.
Jane Dickey, I'm over here. Again, thank you very much for this. It's been very helpful. There's a large Latino community, Latinx community in Allegan County, of course, and especially down the Fenville area, which links particularly strongly with Holland and so on. When you talk about Ottawa County, is that particular grants that limit your services to particular programs? But otherwise, do you serve many people in Allegan, or are there other agencies you work with in Allegan County?
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, thank you for that question. I kind of left that out of my presentation. But when you look at, you know, we did a strategic plan and we did an environmental analysis with the capacity building project. And there's us here in Holland, and then the other Latino serving organizations are Latino-led organizations are in Grand Rapids Hispanic Center and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And then there's us along the lakeshore. And that's Latino-led, Latino-serving organizations, right? Focused Latinos. So part of our vision, my vision, is leading along the lakeshore. And so we are in Fenville City Hall on Fridays, community navigating resourcing. And we just started that 1 day a week. We, as an organization, fund that. There's no grant tied to it currently, but that's what we're working to, because I see what we do here in Holland can be replicated in Allegan County, in Fenville, which Fenville's Latinos are 50% of that city, or village. It's becoming a city, I guess. But so yeah, we're there. Our goal with our curriculum and our youth program, I believe we've been working with a curriculum developer for the last year. I believe if you have Latino students, that curriculum can be across every high school in the state of Michigan with Adelante and Más Adelante. And so we're already in West Ottawa High School. We serve Holland, Zeeland, and Black River at our Holland office, and then we're in Grand Haven through a grant through the community foundation there. So Más Adelante, and Grand Haven, and you know, we got a meeting with Fenville next week. So the goal is to be leading along the lakeshore and replicating everything that we're doing, because to your point, the need is outrageous. There's so much need, and who better than the oldest Latino organization in the state of Michigan, right?
Hi, Bob Giroux. I have a culturally sensitive question, I think, so I want to walk carefully here. But with all the news and all the emphasis, especially in this election year, on immigration into the United States, and you referred earlier to the program that recruited, especially Mexican agricultural workers in the late 40s, 50s. Mm-hmm. Is there a similar program now, both within industry, government, any kind of program to look at that as an opportunity to bring people to this community,
Yeah.
to fill both industry needs and agricultural needs?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with Request Foods, but they do it already. You know, and there's others that do it, especially in the agricultural industry. So I think they're H-2B visas, and you know, that program. I don't know if there's a different program like the Braceros program was in the 40s and 50s, but there is a program to bring immigrants, and they're doing it, and they're still doing it. So it's still very much a real thing. It's very much seasonal and migrant, you know, that only lasts from like September to April. So Yeah. Yeah, we try to do what we can to support that community, especially the migrant while they're here, and community, building community around them. You know, they work 6 days a week. Sunday is kind of their only day, and you'll often see them at Walmart getting all their basic needs and what they need if they can get there. So Migrant Resource Council is an organization we work with to try to get needs out to the migrant camps. But it is a different community in the sense of they often come, and some of them, they're good with that. They come and they go back and take their money and go and do their thing over in their countries and stuff. So, but I think what the lady said back there about the investing in down payments and those type of things and programs where we're celebrating them, and that would be nobody's talking about immigration as a solve to a lot of the workforce, a lot of the industry things. They're not talking seriously about solutions for a pathway for people.
Well, unfortunately, our time has come to an end. I think we could talk with Johnny a lot longer. It's very impressive how multifaceted your programs are and your reach. So we commend you for that. And I think if we were to resurrect Think Hope, we've got an idea for what the entertainment and activity could be with the salsa dancing. So we may take you up on that. And so anyway, let's thank Johnny for his time. And a mug and a selection of teas to add to your break area over at La Hoop. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, and I'll just end with saying muchísimas gracias. Thank you for all the support, and you talk about multifaceted. It's our community needs that, and so if there's any way that you guys can come alongside, whether it's volunteering or just say, hey, this is my gifts, and I want to share it with your community. Laup.org is where you can find out more. If you're not following us on any social media yet, please make sure you follow us, Latin Americans United for Progress. But Laup.org, you can get my contact information from there as well. So thank you.
Thank you. This has been most helpful. I've been taking notes, have a few statistics, et cetera, written down. Thank you very much. Really appreciate this. Just want to let you quickly know that next week, Community Action House, and I think, Scott, you'll be here. Yep. So hope to see you next week as we hear also from Community Action House. Thank you.